Ankle pickers, welcome back. Happy New Year to everybody from the Ankle Pick podcast. Dan, Happy New Year. Reece, Happy New Year. We are ready to go with 2023. Welcome, boys.
How we doing?
What up? What up?
The pod is back.
The pod is back.
Surprise.
This is the fourth calendar year that we've recorded now. Crazy to think about.
That actually is crazy. Does not feel that long. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, we're going to jump right in. A little bit of a special pod here today. We're doing division futures and division futures only. So before any event in 2023 kicks off, you can bet DraftKings Sportsbook who will be holding gold at each division at the end of 2023. This was a profitable one for us last year. We'd like to make it profitable again this year. Any other pregame stuff y'all want to bring up before we jump right in?
I just have a question for Country Club. Do we have our predictions on hand from last year just to see how we did? Or is that going to be a process?
It's going to be a process.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll share that on Twitter, and then we'll keep track of this year as well with Moneyline. And let's just, because we're big on keeping records, let's just pretend we have, $100 or $1,000 to spend in total, and we could just kind of proportion it on all the divisions.
Works for me.
Sweet.
I'm going to try to share my screen for those of us watching, and we can roll through it that way.
That is out of my pay grade. I have no idea how to do that.
Let's kick things off with the heavyweight division.
Okay.
And can y'all see my screen?
Yes. This is great. The downside is YouTube beautiful mugs are a lot smaller. The plus side is I can very much see your screen.
All right. So right off the top of the board, the first few names: Ngannou plus 110, John Jones 275, Cyril Gane 300, Pavlovich 650, Miocic 12-1, Blades 14-1. I'm going to stop there. But
real quick, not to take two steps backward. I did find my bet slip from this episode last year. If we want to real quick run through that,
Go for it.
Do it real quick. Tell us your highlights.
Run through it.
minus half a unit. Kayla Harrison, women's featherweight. Obviously, that one never materialized. She never had a chance of even discussing a fight in the UFC. That one might have been ambitious. Cash 5x minus 115. Amanda Nunes, women's bantamweight.
Okay. That's a good bet.
Losing half a unit. Colby Covington plus 1800. He got another opportunity versus Kamaru. Ultimately, just kind of showed that his level's not there. Minus another 2x. Cyril Gane plus 280. Another one that really could have gone either way. There was only, two total heavyweight championship fights this year? Maybe just one.
Just one in January.
Yeah. Split decision. Gane could have gotten that. Ultimately, not my best. Moving on to light heavyweight. Magomed Ankalaev plus 300 minus 1 unit. And that one feels like a robbery. Really got the right opportunity. Sorry, Kobe, what was that?
The whole light heavyweight division futures are all robberies.
Yeah.
Because Yuri feels like a robbery too. I had that one written down at plus 275 last year.
Yep. 100%. Minus 3x. Piotr Yan. Don't even get me started. I mean, I don't think he's lost yet, but that's minus 3x regardless. 2x plus 200. Bet of the year, Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I had it written down at plus 300 when we recorded, Dan.
I've got 2 on my slip.
Okay.
I must have gotten at a different book than you did, worse odds. And then minus 1x on Rose Namajunas for women's strawweight. So when you put it together, it's minus 3, minus 4, 5, and then plus 4. Sorry, this is bad radio, but we're green by a good amount. It's green by about 5x because of the great Islam bet and the great Nunez bet. And then Ankalaev coming real close.
Let's jump into heavyweights this year. I rattled a few off the top of the board. Ngannou 110, John Jones 275, Cyril Gane 300, Pavlovich 650. Beyond that, the only thing that I'm going to start and say off the top of the bat is we saw how infrequently these guys fight last year. I'd be shocked if we got more than 2 title fights at heavyweight this year. I think I'm almost leaning I'd expect 1.
So I think you do get 2, and here's how I think this plays out. I think you do get Francis versus Jones in the first quarter of 2023. Now, if you don't get that, because we still only
are we dealing with the Jones suspension, or was that?
I think that
bullshit?
was fake. Yeah, I think that was fake.
Okay, sorry.
So if you don't get that, then I think you're looking at a potential interim shot. I don't know how that works with the unification if they don't get it done in this 2023, whatever. Here's how I look at this. Stipe will not fight for a title. You're looking at Curtis Blades potentially getting a shot, and I think Sergey Pavlovich potentially getting a shot. I think with the infrequency that Kobe mentioned, anyone lower than that, I think you can pretty much count out on getting a shot. So with that being said, I think that the best bet is Curtis Blades at 14-1. And the reason why is because I think Pavlovich versus Ngannou, I think Pavlovich has less of a chance than winning than Curtis Blades. And I think similarly with Cyril Gane and similarly with John Jones, I think that Curtis Blades has the best chance to beating any of those 3 guys. And so I think that if the first quarter of 2023 materializes as I expect, we're going to look for who's going to get that title shot in the second half of the year. I think you're looking at Pavlovich. I think you're looking at Blades. And I think you can't go wrong with either. But I think that because of the style that Francis and Cyril bring to the table, I like Blades wrestling. So I think I'm going to lean Blades at 14-1 is the way to go.
So I've got a little bit of a different perspective here. And ultimately, I think that 2 of the biggest names that you mentioned, your first quarter fight, I think we don't see either of them in 2023. We're in the middle of free agent Francis Ngannou. I don't think he fights. And John Jones, I mean, we've had this conversation in the future episode last year. He's been claiming a heavyweight move for 6-7 years now. It's just at a certain point, it's a shit or get off the pot.
13.
Okay, but even still then. So, okay, fine. So Francis doesn't go. John doesn't go. Now what do you do?
I'm looking at laying 2.5 units spread across 3 guys. I'm thinking 1 unit on Pavlovic.
Interesting.
Plus 650. 1 unit on Gane plus 300.
Okay.
And then half a unit on your Curtis Blades. I do think that those are the 3 most skilled guys. But in a division that's been as held up as possible, I think that it's honestly, it wouldn't be my favorite, but it'd be likely that we see 1 fight this year. And it's Cyril Gane versus who knows who, because we don't get an Ngannou or a John Jones fighting. And I think in that scenario, it's free money of one of these 3 guys holding the belt. And I'm not saying that that's the most likely scenario. That's the scenario I'm laying out.
My only issue with that is I wonder what the likelihood of Francis just sitting on his hands for a year and just holding the belt, not relinquishing. I don't know what the likelihood or probability of that is.
He's a free agent. There's the likelihood he signs with the PFL in their new pay-per-view 50-50 fighter split division. There's a chance that he ends up going to boxing.
And then the other thing is I don't know if Cyril Gane wins, you're barely in the green, about 1.5 units. So that's the other concern I have, where it's like, even if your best chance hits, you're only up a smidgen. But I think that if you are correct that Ngannou and Jones don't go, then you automatically hit.
I just think that there's a whole lot up in the air to think that either of them fight for sure. I'm not ready to say that.
I think that's fair.
I got nothing else to add other than I like my boy Sergey Pavlovich, and that guy seems like he's fighting a lot, and 3 times in 2022 if he stays. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be determined by what's available to him, the fights that are available. But he's a guy that we've seen to be active recently. I'll sprinkle on the 650.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
last thing I'll say is there's a theme that'll be brought up in almost every division of a year too early or just not the right timing. And we just mentioned a lot about there only being one, maybe two heavyweight title fights this year. I do think Tom Aspinall is as skilled as anyone else, and I think that in the episode of 2024 futures, we're probably talking about him getting a shot. I don't see him coming off the injury and being in a title fight at all this year.
well, he's also just behind Blades in line because of the injury. So that too.
Can I say the same thing about Jailton Almeida?
Jonathan just, yeah, he
I don't
you're
think
not
he's a
even-
heavyweight.
I was about to say, you're not even guaranteed he fights at heavyweight. You don't know what this man, his plan is. I think that if you look deeper than Blades, you're off the mark. You just won't have that chance. If you did want like an absolute Hail Mary of a shot for like the lower guys, it would have to be someone that you think could sub in if there was an injury. Like I would say maybe like a Volkov or a Spivak, like just like we have a guy who's hurt. We need someone to step in. But I think if you're going past Blades, you're throwing money in the trash.
See, I almost think that in that sentiment, if there's a replacement fighter, or if there's a guy who's not so much the number 1 through 4 skilled heavyweight, it's going to be Stipe getting a shot that he doesn't so much deserve. I think he's one of the only guys besides Francis that has a name outside
but he hasn't-
of
he just
UFC
hasn't-
diehards.
He just hasn't fought in so long is my only issue with
Right,
that.
but if he gets one win, and like whatever, this is all super hypothetical. If Francis and John Jones both aren't fighting this year, let's say Cyril beats Pavlovic or the other way around, Stipe gets one win because of his pedigree. I could see him getting a December title shot against either one of those
I just
guys.
don't know if I don't know if you could even put any money that he's going to fight twice in 2023.
No, yeah, I agree. I just think that in terms of name, and like you said, the layout of a last minute replacement or something, he's the guy that I think can sell a pay-per-view way more than a Volkov or a Speedback.
All right, I'm cutting it off there. We mentioned Gan, Pavlich, and Blades, all as potential plays. We'll come back through them at the end. Light heavyweight, Ankalaev plus 150, Jamel Hill 300, Yuri 330, Jan 380, Jan Blachowicz, that is 380, Glover 800. Those are really all the short odds ones. Whoever wants to go ahead, I'll tee it up.
I'll take this one because I have 2 plays and 2 plays only, and I'm very confident on both of them. I think that you can slot in Magomed Ankalaev. I think that no matter who wins between Jamel Hill or Glover Teixeira, no matter who wins in even like the next fight after that, I think that Magomed will get another chance in 2023, and I think that he seizes that chance in 2023. I also think that Magomed's next fight will be for the title. I don't think that he's going to be defending his position. And so I think you're basically betting on Magomed plus 150 in one fight where he's probably going to be the favorite. That's like my angle at that. The long shot I like is Alexander Rakic at 25-1. I think that he was making unbelievable strides, got hurt in like a freakish way. Light heavyweight's not super deep. I think if he gets a fight in the first half of the year, which he's saying is progressing, he actually tweeted before we got live today that it's progressing. I think if he gets a win in the first half of the year, he could be next in line. And then you get a 25-1 long shot on a 2-fight Rakic parlay. I like that one too. So I think Magomed's my heavy lean. I think I would be surprised if it's not Magomed. And if you want a dart throw, I think Rakic is pretty good at 25-1.
I agree with you completely on Magomed. I don't think that he's got a contender fight. I think that his next fight is going to be for the belt. It's probably not going to be the next title fight at light heavyweight. So I agree with you that there's some great value there. It's Magomed winning one fight at plus 150. I've got 2 units slated towards there. I've got a dart throw with the guy we just mentioned, Jailton Almeida, a quarter of a unit plus 3,500. It's probably a year too early. It's just been a weird light heavyweight division for the past year and a half. And if someone's coming out of nowhere, I could see Jailton Almeida beating any one of these guys. And then in the same vein as a Magomed Ankalaev, I'm going to put a unit behind Jiri Prochazka because although he's injured right now, I don't think that the UFC makes him fight anyone before he fights for the belt. And so if he's fighting at the end of the year, he's fighting whoever's holding that belt. And I think that we saw how good he is over 5 rounds and how dangerous he is. And so I don't think he's better than a guy like Magomed, but at plus 330, I think we're going to get some value when it comes to his one fight that he does challenge for the title at the end of the year.
My only issue with that, Dan, is I think that if we were setting odds, I think it's the most likely scenario is Yuri doesn't fight in 2023. That's what I believe to be most likely. I think he's, with his timetable and his injury and his recovery, it's 9 months from December. So call it September. It's like I could totally
see. You get the current belt holder. I mean, although they stripped him, the most recent person who's won a light heavyweight title fight in one fight in November, December plus 330. Yeah, and I think that's just good value for a unit.
Yeah, it's just risky. I think Magomed's the safest. Your long shots Almeida. I don't mind that either. If you're someone going for huge gambles and you want to throw like, a quarter of a unit, I think you could sprinkle Almeida, you could sprinkle Rakic, and you could have a good look at one of those two getting a title shot in 2023.
I've got nothing to add. I had the 3 names written down on Ankalaev, Yuri, and Almeida as well. I'm glad we mentioned Almeida. I do think it's a year too early, at least. Before Danny's Yuri, one fight plus 330 odds. It's big. Seems like it makes sense. He's going to get slotted into a title shot as soon as he's back, whether it's this year, whether it's the following. I like it at 330. And Ankalaev seems like the best bet at plus 150 though.
So all I want to say is Jalton, in his UFC career so far, he only has 2 fights, both of which I believe were at heavyweight. So that
surprises me to hear out loud. I know that he's scheduled to fight at heavyweight upcoming, but I thought that was because of how much that fight has moved around.
Well, Parker Porter was at heavyweight, short notice. And then so was Turkali. But what's weird is both of them, he only weighed in at 220. So I just don't know if the light heavyweight shot, can someone have one single fight in a specific division and get the shot? I don't know.
Well,
no, he had a couple though.
He had one fight. He had one UFC fight under his belt as of this time last year, and he's the belt holder.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, but now he's got now his next fight again is coming up, also against a heavyweight. So it's weird. I think that one runs a little risk of, does he even fight in light heavyweight? You know what I mean? It's running a lot of questions here, but
let's keep it moving. Scrolling on down to UFC middleweight division. I'll give us the short odds. Izzy plus 150, Alex Pereira plus 215, Hamzat plus 250, Bobby Nux at 7-1, and Bo Nickel at 12-1. Everything else is 20-1 or greater.
So okay. I mean, I don't know where Danny's take is on this. No, you're not going to catch me dead on Adesanya, because I think that even if they make that rematch, you might get a slight favorite, but then you also he might defend later in the year, even if he does win. 150, not great. I think Pereira is in trouble against anyone not named Izzy or not named like Cannonier, like someone who really can push the wrestling on him. So here's what I got. I think we're a year too early on Bo Nickel. I don't think they're going to throw him up the ladder that fast. I don't know if Hamzat's committed to 85. Kind of like a Jalton question. So here are my 2 favorites. Obviously, Bob Whitaker at 7-1. I think that's you are going to get. I think Bob Whitaker gets one shot in 2023, and you're basically getting a plus 700 on that one shot. If he wins, you might
got half a unit there. That's my only middleweight future.
Well, and then what do you think about this one, Dan? And this one caught my eyes because the odds are very nice. Andre Muniz at 40-1.
I love Andre Muniz. And I had this written down, ultimately deleted from my notes. And I love him in a matchup against anyone in this division, not named Nickel, not named Chimaev, not named Whitaker.
But
I don't think that he gets a title shot. He's not someone that they want to push like a Pereira.
I agree. But Here's what we got. We got Contender Series 2019. Dana loves pushing his Contender Series guys. Beats Arroyo, beats Fabinski, beats Jacare, beats Eric Anders, beats Uriah Hall, and he has about early in the year, which is huge for this, 225, he faces Brendan Allen. If he beats Brendan Allen, he's currently number 10. Do we see single digits next to his name? Probably. So the question is,
here's the thing. It's just way too complicated of a low skill level division. He beats Brendan Allen. I still have him behind guys like Vittori and Strickland in terms of name value. And I know that sounds silly because both those guys have losses recently and multiple losses.
Especially
recently.
Strickland. Strickland's like 1-3 in his last 4.
Yeah. Genuinely, I don't see how an Andre Muniz jumps those guys in line unless he starts fighting huge name guys, which Uriah Hall, it's a good win. It's just not like 10 years ago.
Okay, ready? He fights Brendan Allen here, wins. Who do you give him next is McMaynard?
I mean, I
think
it's just as logical that McMaynard gives him a Paulo Costa Marvin Vittori as McMaynard gives him a Chris Curtis Jack Hermanson.
Okay, let's say he gives him either or, and he beats them too. Who do you give him in like the November, December range?
Still not a title fight. There's that upper range of guys. I just think there's too many rungs of the ladder to climb, and I'm a huge Muniz fan. I'll be backing him huge in all those hypothetical fights that we're mentioning. I just think there's so many boxes to check before anyone gives him a belt opportunity.
Let me ask you a better question. Would you take the bet 40-1 Muniz fights for the title? So doesn't even need to win it. Just 40-1. Do you think he has a chance at fighting for the title or still no?
Not in this calendar year.
Okay.
I don't. I think that one of the biggest themes I came across with making my list is that when I did this last year, I thought that everyone had the mentality of an Izzy where I want to be an active champion. I want to fight 3 times a year. Not many champions do. And 2 times a year is actually above average.
Yeah, I just look at it this way. Like Izzy, Pereira, okay. Hamzat's kind of a throwaway bet in my opinion. I think it's name value. I don't think he fights 85. I don't think he gets a title shot at 85. Then Whitaker's a good bet.
Sorry, not to take you back a step. Izzy Pereira rematch happens this year, right?
Sure.
That's the belt.
Q1.
That's the fight that we're looking at.
Call it Q1 or Q2.
Right. It's not scheduled yet. And so I don't think it's January, February. I think we're looking at March.
Not Q1. It'll end up being Q2.
All right, let's say early Q2.
Maybe International Fight Week, July.
Right. So if they're running that, right, if it's International Fight Week, we're looking at maybe a December or November second middleweight title, or we're not looking at that being the only fight. It just, I don't see a situation where Muniz can climb this ladder this year.
It's more, what if he's active while the champs aren't? Like, for example, Duplessis.
I think we're spending way too much time on 40-1 here. There's not going to be that many title fights.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on.
The only thing I'll mention is if you're thinking about betting Izzy, just put an open parlay with at least with 2 Izzy fights.
Yeah, I don't think you bet Izzy at 150. But like Hamzat and Bo Nickel are throwaways. Let's be real. And so is Cannonier. And so is it's like
so is Dolidze. And I'm a Dolidze guy.
So is Dolidze. So if Muniz beats Duplessis or like Imavov, he's right in the fringe there. But I get what Danny's saying. Getting 3 middleweight, you're betting on 3 middleweight fights. He needs to win all 3, and he needs the title shot.
I like better than Muniz at 40-1 is Vittori at 40-1. I still think his name just carries more. He's in that conversation of, oh, I could have gotten Izzy. Even though like it was a completely one-sided fight.
Low key, really quickly too. Imavov fighting this weekend. If he beats Strickland, who's ranked 6 right now, call it he's inside the top 5, and now you got
he finishes Strickland.
Yeah, now you got
that 40 number's value.
Yeah, that might be a number and then a cash out. You might want to place a little bit on that and then cash it out if he wins this weekend.
All right, let's keep it moving. We've got welterweight. I'll read off the short odds again. Usman plus 150. Leon, current belt holder, plus 240. Hamzat 450. Colby 500. Shavkat 9-1. Bilal 9-1.
Keep going because there's one name you're missing, and I'm not moving on until you say his
Gilby
name.
Burns 25. Jorge 14.
Very much. No, I just needed the Gilby.
I figured you were after that Gilby.
Porra! Better Portugal, better Kietski. Okay, let me
And
ask
we can start there because I'd be remiss to not mention him. Gilbert, as much fun as he is, as talented as he is, I think that he gives absolutely anyone on this list a run for their money. I don't
Absolutely.
think he ever holds gold. That pains me to say.
It does. So here are the two things I want to say. First, Connor, he's jacked off his ass. Does he get a fuck it? I want to
No.
sell this pay-per-view freebie title shot.
No.
Okay.
We've learned that Connor can sell a pay-per-view without a belt on the line.
Okay. The second question is, Dan, who do you like in a Hamzat versus Rachmanov fight in theory?
I don't want to have to choose. I've got those are the two guys I've got earmarked. I think it was a year early last year for Hamzat. I think we see him hold gold this year. The tough
If
part
he can make
is,
weight, yeah.
does he fight at middleweight or welterweight? I have to assume that they're pushing him at welter. I've got a unit on Hamzat plus 450. I just have to. And then I'm going a quarter unit on Shavkat because he's that good.
Okay. Now, what about Bilal? People are calling for Bilal that he deserves a shot.
I agree. Bilal has earned absolutely everything.
He won't be 9-1 in his
a couple
chance.
takes about Bilal, though. I think that he's much more similar to a Gilbert Burns than he is to a Leon or a Kamaru. I think that the UFC itself as an organization doesn't want him to be champ. Doesn't want to push a Bilal narrative. Doesn't want to have to market a Bilal title fight. I think that he should be more like 20-1, and I know he's on a win streak, and I know that he has a style that should give a lot of guys problems. I think when you get to the Shavkats, the Hamzats, and the Kamarus, it's going to look like a different level. And I'm just not looking at like Bilal. I think that maybe he gets one win and they feed him a Hamzat or a Shavkat because they want to get him out of there. Or maybe they feed him a Jack Della Maddalena. They'll feed him the next biggest and scariest unbeatable prospect because they don't want to market a Bilal fight.
Right, but he can beat those guys. But here, that was my next question. What about Kobe's boy, Jack Della Maddalena?
You're too early.
Okay.
So
here's where I'm at. I love Danny's picks. Hamzat 450. If he stays at welterweight, that is a gift.
And I do want to say, before you move away,
yeah,
I think that we see Hamzat fight for a belt in 2023. Whether that's a welterweight or middleweight, I don't know. But I think we see him in a title fight.
I don't disagree. And I think that you could also bet both.
That's exactly where my head went.
Yeah. Welterweight, middleweight, cash one, because you can assume he probably won't lose if he holds it. But here's my thing. I don't know where I place that Hamzat Rachmanov line. And so I think Rachmanov's a safe bet. But I also think that Usman is probably the most dominant champion we've ever seen. And so what does that look like? You know what I mean?
Honestly, it sucks because of the stance where welterweight is, the position that the welterweight division is. Both of these might still be a year early. We might not see any kind of Leon defense at UFC London. And I know that sounds ridiculous. That sounds
very probable.
But we might not see a welterweight title fight at UFC London. We might see them hold out International Fight Week, maybe Kamaru Leon rematch, because I do think Kamaru has earned that immediate rematch. And if his hand's not okay or whatever it is, maybe they hamstring the division. Who knows? I do
every
think
year
that,
until this year, though, or of late, Usman fought 2 and 3 times.
Yeah, he's had injury.
It wouldn't be surprising to see Usman.
He's had injury bugs though and stuff, but yeah. It's interesting because I just think that these champ odds, unless you're in like a crazy, crazy division, paying this low price on any of them is just bad odds because, like you said, Kobe, you'd be better off just open parlaying and hitting them both. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I hate that we haven't mentioned Colby Covington yet because that's a guy that arguably has beaten Kamaru. And
twice.
No, get the fuck out of here.
Other than not being very active of the last 2-3 years, I mean,
you just sold it
into a title fight.
You literally just said it. He hasn't been active, and And I like the fact that George is 14-1 shows how fucked this division is, because George might get a title shot. The only reason why the 14-1 isn't good is because he won't win and he won't defend. But there's a scenario where you see Leon Masvidal. That's a legitimate scenario, which is so
I'm
fucked.
seeing Leon versus Burns ahead of that, even with the scheduling weirdness.
Well, it's because of the drama with the 3-piece and the soda. They could market the bitch out of that. But yeah. I mean,
in that same vein, I don't see Colby Covington fighting for the belt this year. I think that he had his shots.
yeah.
I think that as a stylistic matchup, Kamaru is the guy for him to beat. I think that Leon handles Colby. I think Hamzat handles Colby. I think Shavkat handles Colby. And I've been the guy on the podcast that's been defending Colby for years. But I think similarly to Bilal, the UFC isn't going to push that, isn't going to market a Colby Covington title fight again this year.
So I also want to talk about one thing quick, because it's an interesting angle. I want to talk about people who are active in the first quarter of this year. So Shavkat, Jeff Neal. I mean, Jeff Neal's at 40-1. If he beats Shavkat, is he in a shot, or is it still not even worth it? You know? And then the other one I wanted to mention was Gilbert Burns, because let's just say Gilbert finishes Neil Magny, which is probably the most probable line in all seriousness. What do you give Gilbert next? Do you feed him Leon?
Bilal or Colby. That's why I think all those guys are tied up.
Okay. Yeah, still gatekeeping. I see.
Yeah.
I think you move on. I think Danny is the best angle from the beginning. Just ride Chimaev, ride Rachmanov, and just let it ride.
Cool. I'm in with that. Lightweight. We've got a lightweight title fight already scheduled to be on the line in February between Islam Makhachev, his belt holding odds at the end of the year, -200, Volk +330, Oliveira to regain his belt +650, Dariush 750, Dustin 9-1. Everything else is 20-1 or greater.
Charles Oliveira.
Call me a square.
Yeah.
Islam -200, 3x to win 150.
Retweet.
Sorry.
Retweet. Look, here's what you're looking at. Your only sweat on that Islam bet is Volkanovski. Let's be real.
They probably
Because
run it back. If
maybe
Islam loses, that one probably gets run back.
maybe. But look at Chucky Olives, no. We saw how the first one got through, no. Dustin Poirier, no. Justin Gaethje, no. They've already gotten that smoke from Khabib. No. So you're looking at Arman Sarukian potentially. I don't hate that. And then, Dan, what is your opinion on Beneil Dariush? Because he is in the wings for a shot. He already should have fought Islam. I think there's a very likely scenario that Beneil gets a shot this calendar year, and his odds will not be higher than +750.
You know what my take is? Which is a stupid, salty take. His odds might be more than 750.
Nah, that's
Come
impossible.
close.
Nah, that's impossible. That's impossible. That's impossible. That's crazy. I'm all for crazy shit, but that's impossible. That would have to put Islam at like -1100. That's insane.
And then the other has been disrespected beyond disrespected, and I almost don't think it changes.
The other honorable mention I'm curious about from Dan's perspective is Rafael Fiziev. I heard that they're in the process of making him versus Gaethje. Let's say he takes out Gaethje. I would be surprised if he
I almost like a Turner more than that. I think Turner could snatch up some necks and go on a run. Fiziev's a one-dimensional.
Fiziev hasn't lost.
Yeah.
We haven't even mentioned Ilya Topuria, by the way.
What's up?
We haven't mentioned
You're
Ilya
too
Topuria.
early.
You're too early.
And it's lightweight.
Right.
I'm much more intrigued.
The wrong
45.
division.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the only reaon why. Let's be real. Ilya, I know he's been bouncing, but Ilya will not be fighting. He might eventually go when he's in his like 30, 31. Oh, I want to try to be a double champ. But like, let's be real. Like, he's not a lightweight. He's comfortable at featherweight. He's going to be fighting at featherweight.
The last thing I'll say is I guess part of my reason of not loving the Benny future is what I'm hearing out of his camp. All the noise he's making about Poirier and whatnot feels like he's being told, hey man, no one's taking a fight with you because you're just not a draw, and we're just not going to move you along because no one wants to accept the fight.
Yeah, but
And that doesn't mean he's not game.
Well, he
It's
just
him
he
not
just
being a
shit
draw
on
coming
he
back
just
to
shit
fight
on
him.
Gamrot. Like, how long are you going to leave a man who destroyed one of the top prospects on the sidelines?
I interpret that coming out
Think
of
about how long
Benny's
they
camp.
left Islam on the sideline.
I interpret that coming out of Benny's camp as let's go get you a pay-per-view like money fight. Dustin will throw that and get paid.
What's so weird is Dariush Makachev was booked. Why wouldn't they just
Either way,
rebook it?
Kobe, but it wasn't booked when either of them had any kind of title implications. It was booked as a stay busy fight for Makachev.
And Danny,
I agree with you, Kobe,
clarify,
in the
I
sense
don't
that
think-
whatever's coming out of Benny's camp isn't advancing him towards fighting for the belt sooner.
I agree with that.
It's some other kind of
ulterior
game
motive.
plan.
Also, I do want to say the more I'm looking at this, I actually think I lay off this division entirely. Dan is right. Makachev is the one, but I really don't think he's going to roll Volk like the books say he's going to roll Volk. And so I almost don't want to be, I mean, I guess you're riding Makachev at -200 versus Volk, which is like nice, but I don't know.
I
Volk's
kind of
got good
disagree,
hands.
Reece. I think you can bet Islam at -200 here. And if he beats Volk, great. You have Islam at -200 for maybe one more fight this year. And if he loses, they're going to run that rematch back, and you have Islam -200 the second time.
What about this? They run that rematch back, but Volkanovski goes defends 45 first, and now 55 is fucking vacant.
It's possible.
That happens so fucking often.
But then you're losing a bet on Islam -200, which is a better odds than betting the fight in itself.
Yeah, that's true.
It's-
That's
I
fair.
mean,
Yeah. That's a good angle at it. It's just you have to think: am I parlaying Islam to beat Volk also with Islam to beat, say, Dariush or Fazeev or Sarukian or whatever, whoever comes next? And then also Dan told me off air that he really likes the Damir Ismagulov at +150. So throwing that out there.
Talk about
not
throwing
for
away
a
money.
title, but we're just how about we just hope he's not actually retired?
He is. And hey, scroll up a little bit. I think I saw another one of Dan's. Oh, Brad Riddell. Dan, throw that Brad Riddell out there too, +500.
He is one of my guys, but
He
fuck,
is your
man.
guy.
Bantamweight, and we actually have some news today about bantamweight division.
Real quick, Kobe, before we move to bantamweight, we should address that the reason featherweight's not on the board is because of the complication with the super fight of
True.
Islam Volkanovski, and depending on that, there could be no featherweight title and they're only interim, and that's why DraftKings isn't offering it.
Yeah, because so the problem would be that it's like, okay, you obviously would bet like Emmett or Yair because they get plus odds, but then it might not get unified. So yeah, way to clarify that, Dan. I was actually confused by that.
Moving on to bantamweight for real this time. Aljamain Sterling is +100, and
Bad bet.
He has a bicep injury, some sort of injury that
Partially torn bicep, will not be ready for March.
Right, we were thinking March originally. That timeline is no longer. Cejudo is sitting there at 2-1. Sugar Sean O'Malley 4.5-1. Cheeto Vera 9-1. Piotr Yan 10-1. Marab 18. Sandhagen 22. I'll cut it off there.
Reese, so tell me why Aljo is a bad bet at +100.
I'll tell you
if
why
he's only
Aljo's
gonna
a bad
fight
bet.
once this year.
I'll tell you why Aljo's a bad bet at +100, because I think that there's a likelihood that he actually doesn't go this year. He has got a partially torn bicep, and they're gonna do, in my opinion, they're gonna do a interim Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. The reason why I think Aljo +100 is a bad bet is because there's way too many question marks. There's the Cejudo roaming around. I have no idea what's going to happen with Cejudo.
So can I pause you real quick? Pause.
Yeah.
That's Cheeto Sean O'Malley fight. That's interim, you said.
Yes.
So that doesn't affect these odds. There's still
No,
Aljo
correct.
holding that belt while that happens.
But here's the problem. If Aljo doesn't fight for the whole year, I mean, he's got a partially torn bicep that may require surgery. He said more news to come. So there's a likelihood that he has a Yuri Prohashka situation. The other thing too that I want to add is there's
Well,
been
and that's a little bit of a unique situation where he had to give up the belt
Totally
because of the
unique
fight that he was
situation.
scheduled for. Like he could even if he doesn't fight, I'm not sure that he's going to have to give up the belt all year. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Danny's
Especially if they have an interim belt in place, they can run the division as normal with the word interim being thrown
So
in there.
let me ask
And
you a
Aljo
question.
could be, without fighting, the champion at the beginning.
I'm not
and
betting
end of the year.
Aljo at 1-1, but I just want to make sure.
So
that
here's the other huge storyline that I'd be remiss if we ignored. There have been a lot of rumblings that Aljo's going to I-45 because he wants to give his teammate Merab a shot. What if the Aljo injury is going to keep him out for a year? Merab gets the interim belt. Merab wins. Aljo relinquishes and says, I'll go up to 45. Merab's champ.
No, that's
I
interim.
think there's a whole lot of things that need to happen there. And I agree with you. I've got Merab penciled in as a future that I'm on. I'm going a quarter unit plus 1,800. I agree with you that the script is there for the end of the year to come and his teammate to say, Merab, it's your belt, interim, whatever.
Yep.
But I also think the script is there for Aljo to either not fight or fight once versus a Cheeto or a Sean O'Malley, who stylistically I think he should be.
Yeah, he beats both those guys in my opinion.
By minus 500, minus 550.
Not that crazy, but yeah.
The grappler that he is.
I don't know if it's that crazy.
I don't know. I think that Aljo isn't a terrible shot for maybe a unit or two, not something big. But for him to fight at maximum one time this year, but maybe not fight at all and still be champ.
Hey guys, I am looking at DraftKings and I actually do have featherweight odds for some reason.
Let's jump there next.
I don't.
But back to bantamweight, I think that O'Malley's a really bad bet. And I think that you have to ask, I think Cejudo's a bad bet, but you have to ask yourself where he plays in all this. I think the best bets are Sandhagen or Merab. Or
I know that I'm gonna sound like a homer here. I'm going quarter unit Merab, quarter unit Petr Yan. I still think Petr Yan is the best bantamweight alive. I think that the pathway for him to get back to the title is a little bit weird. But let's say that O'Malley wins that Cheeto interim belt that we're talking about. Piotr's probably the next in line, given that he wins a fight versus someone.
I actually like that path for Jan better than some of the other things that we're talking about.
Here's the problem. You don't even have a guarantee that Jan fights for in the UFC again. You really don't.
Yeah,
no,
in the same way that you don't have a guarantee that Merab gets a title shot ever, let alone this year. I'm going to go to quarter unit on both of those, and they're pretty big odds. But I think that going a full unit or a full 2 units on Aljo is a great way to round that off, because if Aljo comes back, he's not fighting twice for this belt. And he's going to be in a great stylistic matchup versus anyone not named Petr.
This division's just so deep because I think you could make a claim that Ricky Simone is in the hunt. I just think it might be a little early. And then I think the same thing for Umar and Adrian Yanez. I think that because they're all of those guys I just named are active in Q1. So you have that weird scenario where Umar beats Barcelos or Yanez beats Bob Font. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a scenario where you got like a lot of guys waiting in the wings and you have a hurt champion. This division's either the toughest to bet or the easiest to bet, and you're not going to know.
Umar's super interesting. He's another guy. I think he's just a year too early. I do think that there aren't, I mean, he's ranked 11 right now. There aren't 10 guys better than him. I don't think there's 4 guys better than him. I just also don't think we see him fight for the belt this year. I think that this division, more than anything, is under the threat of interim lunacy. And I think that we might not have an actual bantamweight title fight this year. I think that there's a realistic chance that Aljo is the bantamweight title holder January 1st to December 31st without ever fighting, and we get the interim belt change hands twice.
Okay. And you'll be stuck on the news waiting to see if Aljo relinquishes every day, but that would be the easiest cash ticket of all time if it does go through that way. Also, Kobe, scroll down just a little bit because there's one name that has a very interesting idea behind it, and that's Raul Rosas Jr. at plus 250. And I'll tell you why before I get laughs and shit. There is a storyline of him beating John to be the youngest UFC champ of all time. There is that storyline waiting in the wings. If he's 18
In the
years
same
old,
way that they pushed an Alex Pereira, they could push that.
that's what I'm saying. In the same way that Alex Pereira went from barely fighting to fighting in the champ, I could see Rosas Jr. fighting 2 times in the first half of this year and then getting a ranked opponent in Q3 and maybe getting that December shot in Q4, which would be crazy at plus 250. Obviously, that's the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys, but the fact that he's so young could push that.
I'm glad you called it out, Reece. Take us over to featherweight.
Do you really not have featherweight?
I really don't.
That's so weird. So here's what I have for featherweight. I have Alexander Volkanovski minus 165, Josh Emmett plus 400, Yair Rodriguez plus 450, Arnold Allen plus 800, Ilya Topuria plus 1400, Max Holloway plus 1600, Movsar Evelev plus 2000, Calvin Kattar plus 4500, and then a couple honorable mentions. Ryan Ortega 45-1, maybe Lerone Murphy at 100-1. Our boy JSP at 100-1.
Tell me Volk's number again. What was the top number?
Volk is minus 165.
Off the top of my head, the Holloway and the Ortega numbers seem disrespectful. Both of those guys were
the problem, Dan, not to interrupt you, but Holloway's not going to go. They're not going to do Holloway Volk 4. That's your huge problem.
100% not. But if Volk beats Islam and then has to defend at 155, what are the chances we get a winner of Emmett Yair versus Holloway?
I don't think Volk relinquishes 45 because that's his true weight class, in my opinion.
But they might make him. 155 is the bell cow, the money maker for the UFC. If Volk usurps Islam, Father's Plan, Khabib's like whatever usurper, I mean, Volk might have to defend 155 before anything else is settled. And
I mean,
and that's talking about
then
they're not going to make him relinquish
where Max Holloway is the best in the world.
Well, then that's a great bet, Dan, because I think Max Holloway not destroys, but we've watched him beat the shit out of Yair Rodriguez. And we know if Josh Emmett lost 2.9 rounds to Michael Johnson, he's going to get smoked by Max Holloway.
Danny, I can't imagine a scenario where Volk wins against Islam and they make him relinquish his title before he gets to defend it.
I'm with Kobe on that.
I couldn't have imagined a scenario where Jiri wins the light heavyweight belt and a month later has to relinquish it either. Things are going on weird.
Yeah, but
hold on, Dan. If you're betting Islam at minus 200, how can you not bet Volk at minus 165?
I agree.
Because I think that there's the answer, Kobe, for you is that Volk's the one having to go out of his division. And the fight being
right. So
Islam's
even if
division,
Volk loses, your bet is still winning. Think about that.
Izzy did it most recently. He went up, lost.
I actually think now that Kobe's mentioning it, I actually think that this Volk minus 165 might be the best ticket because he's fighting in the first half of the year and it's risk-free for your bet.
Right.
If he wins or loses, your bet is fine.
I think that there's a chance that he goes undefeated in 2023 and you lose your bet. And that sounds like a shitty way to lose.
Oh, I totally disagree, but
yeah, I respectfully disagree as well. I think I think that's actually one I am gonna place is I'm gonna take Volk for some coin.
What happens if Volk beats Islam and they run Volk Dustin, Volk Connor, Volk money fight?
I'm telling you right now that I think
term belts at featherweight.
Yeah,
it's still a double champ.
Yep, I'm with Kobe. I don't think they make him relinquish.
Interesting. I do think that there's a chance that Volkanovski moves to 155 if he wins versus
more than minus 165. And thinking that wait, Dan, not only more than 165.
This could be an old takes exposed. This could be a big old takes exposed if Volk beats Islam at 155, I don't see him going back to 145 anytime soon.
Well,
I don't
first
see him
off,
defending
here
the
are my two
145
counters.
belt at all.
Here are my two counters. First off, Volk's plus like what 300 to even beat Islam in the first place. Second off, your bet. Think about this. Your bet in the first half of this calendar year is going to be untouched at minus 165. There's a high likelihood that you have to deal with one Volkanovski defense at minus 165. He's minus 500 against both Emmett and Yair.
Danny, I see the path you're describing, but it's a bet I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Kobe on that.
I don't disagree, and ultimately I'm not betting against it. I just think that at featherweight and at bantamweight, you've got the highest level of contender. And we saw guys like Holloway and Ortega be seconds, punches, squeezes away from taking that Volk belt. As much as respect, and I'm not trying to disrespect Volk at all. Y'all know how much I think he's absolutely deserved of the pound for pound number one. He is the best fighter in the world. But we've seen him this close to defeat. And ultimately, if he goes up to 155, I think that there's a scenario where he's not in the 145 rankings in December.
It's possible, but 165 seems a little sweet. And I think the only reason why you're getting 165 is because of all that noise.
Let's move on.
These aren't any lines I studied. I just heard these are all knee-jerk reactions after you read them a second ago. I don't have any bets placed.
Flyweight, I have
the Holloway and the Ortega lines.
Flyweight
red flag is disrespectful, thinking of how close they were with the champion, with the pound for pound number one. But you're right that the path to the title shot might not be there.
Here's what I'm going to say. Flyweight is the easiest division to make money right now. And I'll tell you why. I think Manel Cape at 40-1 is literal robbery. And the other one I think that is just out of this world insane value, Amir Albazi at 18-1. I think both Amir Albazi and Manel Cape have a high likelihood of beating everyone ranked higher than them. The other one that I think
let me read through the top names.
Sorry, my jaw dropped.
Figgy 150, Moreno 165, Pantoja 400, Nicolau 12-1, Kai Kara France 12-1, Albazi, Reece mentioned 18-1, Royval 20, Mokaev 35, Alex Perez, and Manel Cape at 40.
Okay, Mokaev, I think he follows along the same theme we've been going at all night. A year too early. Amir Albazi.
Do we know that for sure though? Because he fought 3 times this year.
No, we don't know that for sure. But I think that the fact that he barely could finish Malcolm Gordon.
He finished him in the second round. He turned it on.
Did he? I thought it was a third. Whatever.
You had 2 firsts and either a second or a third. You might be.
I mean, I think that we watched Manel Cape fight Pantoja, and Manel Cape gasped but put it on him. I think 40-1 on Manel Cape is the automatic flyer. Mateus Nicolau, I don't know if he gets that shot. I think I'm on Amir Albazi, Manel Cape, and that is it. I think Kai Kara France is a sucker bet. I think both of the top dogs, Figgy and Moreno, are bad bets. If you wanted to make an argument for Pantoja, I would hear you out. I would just say, does he even fight for the title? And if he does, can he defend it at +4 or 4-1? That's my only issue.
Yeah, I've got nothing here. This is a division that I skipped. I do think that
you don't like Cape at 40.
See, I just think that it's a year too early for this whole division. Maybe I'm jaded because we've seen a year and a half of the same exact fight run back like 4 fucking times. But
that's
yeah,
almost all the more reason why I like it.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think that maybe I'm overlooking money here, but I don't have a strong read in terms of the Figgy Pantoja side. And I do think that Figgy beats Moreno for a 3rd time.
Here's all I have to say.
You're right.
Quickly.
Guys like Albazi, guys like Mokaev, guys like Cape are as skilled as anyone, and our game versus anyone will not be big dogs. If they get a shot, you've got great value. I'm not sure that any of the 3 break through this year.
Here's my only thought, and then we can move on. You got Figgy Moreno really fucking early in this year. You also run the risk of, if one of them gets scratched, one of these guys are ready for a replacement. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to say is they will not run back Moreno Figgy 5. I just think that would be beating a dead horse beyond all belief, in which case that if the flyweight title shot runs twice this year, you have a high likelihood that one of your flyers, Manel Cape, Amir Albazi, Pantoja, are the ones who get that shot. And that's
Again, it's going to be a draw in Brazil. They're going to run it back a 5th time.
No,
you know it already.
That'd be so retarded.
I like the flyer on Makayev and call me a square or whatever, but
no, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that too. I just don't know if he gets the shot. That's all. Here, Kobe, break it down this way. I know we got to move on, but break it down this way. Figgy and Moreno go in January or February, whenever it's dated. Who are you placing let's say they run it 1 or 2 more times. Do you think Makayev could be a guy that gets the call? If the answer is yes, you have to take him at 35-1. You have to.
I think he can be within 2 revolutions of the.
Okay, that's really the question. And
by the way, the path is probably Moreno winning and not Figgy, because if Figgy wins, I think it holds it up a little bit longer.
Quite possibly. You also have to wonder, I don't know, you would know this better than me, but also, and we don't have enough time to dive in, but who's also already booked out of these guys? I know Jeff Molina, I believe, is booked. Alex Perez, I believe, is booked.
Pretty quick here.
So I think Kai Kara-France might be booked.
Perez and Manel Cape are booked. That's it.
Who's Manel Cape booked against Perez?
Against each other.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's
for March 25th in San Antonio.
Yeah. So I think winner of that puts themselves in a very good spot to be active right around that time. But yeah, so okay. Interesting.
All right, we're going to move on to the women's divisions. We can spend a little bit less time here and just say Amanda Nunes at UFC bantamweight, women's bantamweight, minus 250.
So before we move on real quick, I've got a sprinkle, not even a quarter unit. But I think maybe a 10th of a unit I might put on Valentina Shevchenko, just in the mindset that we saw both of them kind of look human in 2022, and maybe they want to run that trilogy back before all of the buzz is gone from both women. And so we saw, for me, Valentina win that second one that went to the decision with 2 takedowns over 5 rounds is the quote. But 700 Valentina, I think that's not a bad shot.
My only shot that I think is hilarious, but I think it's actually, it could be worth placing just because how ridiculous all this shit is. I think you could make a claim for sprinkling just a little bit on someone dumb like where is it? Misha Tate at 250-1. I know she's lost twice, but these women divisions have proven that they want to, if they're going to put on the card, they want people who will sell it. I could totally see Misha Tate getting the shot. She's as popular as they come. She's as talked about as they come. She is as loved as they come. It's kind of like, let's say Ronda was still in the circle. She always has the likelihood of getting that shot. I think Misha, even though she's lost twice, it kind of doesn't really matter. And I think that at 250-1 for her to get a dumb chance, kind of like Pena did, and get the stunner, I think it's worth a sprinkle. Outside of that, you got to be on Nunes or bust.
Here's the only thing about playing Nunes. You're only betting this if you think she fights more than once this year, because you're going to have a worse odds on Nunes versus Pena.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, I think Nunes is higher than minus 250 against Pena.
I agree.
Sizably too, to be honest.
No.
I think ultimately what you're worried about is the retirement factor.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. All right, never mind.
But even on the retirement factor, none of these women on the list are threatening. And so that's why
Valentina.
It's like, well, Valentina, yeah.
The
but
super fight for a tiny sprinkle is threatening.
Maybe, but let's say Amanda Nunes retires. I could totally see Juliana Pena versus fucking Misha Tate for the title. That's so within the UFC's cards.
Or Holly.
Yeah, or Holly. So in the cards.
Yep. Something weird.
Do we go to flyweight?
Sure.
Women's flyweight, Valentina minus 190, Tyler Santos 6-1, Poirot 6.5, Blanchfield 9.
I think this is the year that Valentina loses it. She's looked human too many times. I like Blanchfield. I like Casey O'Neill.
Casey O'Neill's
I like Blanchfield. I like Santos. Think about this script. They run back. Shevchenko, Santos. Santos wins. Then Valentina moves up to bantamweight to beat Amanda for her essentially both their retirement fight. And you get Valentina at 135 while Tyla is 125. That being said, I think Erin Blanchfield is the most talented woman at women's flyweight. So
I think Aaron Blanchfield, but I really think Casey O'Neill is right there. And then the other one, and this one seems less likely, and I actually don't even think she's on the list. It might be because she's a strawweight. Dan,
my flyer, I thought you were gonna say Tracy Cortez for a second just because of her wrestling.
No, I was gonna say man, is she a bantamweight? Tatiana Suarez, what's her deal? She's making her return fight and she can murder all these women. But I don't see her on the list here, so okay. Yeah, I think
I want to put a little bit of light on Faro. I think she's right there as far as getting a chance.
Yeah, but stylistically, I think Talia Santos is a tough draw. Blanchfield's a really tough draw. Casey O'Neill's a really tough draw. Like,
Blanche
I don't know.
Blanchfield's my favorite play, 9-1.
What about Andrade at 28-1?
Not up at flyweight. I've got her as my play at strawweight.
Okay. And then one last one.
If there's a play, not to transition, but I do think that we are beginning a long reign of Wei Li Zhang. I thought that we were going to begin the long reign when she rematched Rose and Rose head kicked her, or not rematch, but the first one.
Yeah. Well, one other one I want to mention is what about Miranda Maverick at 100-1? Too far out?
Yeah, I don't see the path.
Okay.
Let's move on to strawweight, Dan. I want to cut you off about the Zhang Weili play at -165.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Rose is a good bet. I don't think Amanda Lemos is a good bet. I think Jessica Andrade is a good bet.
You said Zhang Weili -165, Rose 225, Lemos 5-1, Yan Xiaonan 9-1.
Yeah, I think
11.
Here are the ones I like. I like Yan Xiaonan. I just don't know if they run that one. And then I actually really like Yasmin Yuraguchi at 65-1. She came in hot.
I'm a fan of hers. It's a year too early.
I don't know
this
because
belt doesn't change hands enough.
I don't know just because of how thin this division is. It's like Rose seems to be inactive. Amanda Lemos, I mean, she just got smoked by Andrade. I know she has a good win. I don't know if they do China versus China with Yao Zhanan. They might. I don't know what their relationship's like.
We're going to see a Shanghai card pretty soon here, too.
Yeah, I just think that it's 65-1 that Yuraguchi gets a chance this year. I like it. I do like it. I won't lie.
I mean, it's 65-1 and there's value. I just don't think she gets a chance this year.
And then a couple honorable mentions that I wanted to run by Dan is, do you think Lupe Godinez is at 150-1?
I just don't. I don't think it's worth a shot. I'm going to be honest.
And then Mackenzie Dern at 100-1.
That's one I'm way more excited about. I still don't think she fights for the title.
And then what about your girl Marina Rodriguez at 22-1? Just because she lost, she's out.
She's got the technical ability to do it. I still don't see the path. There's just a lot that needs to happen for anyone to get a shot that's kind of beyond the Jessica Andrade for me.
Okay. I think for all the listeners out there who like the long shots, I really do think Yuraguchi could get that October, November, December chance, and you've got a great ticket there if that's the case.
All right. Should we go back through top to bottom and just put a unit on everything?
Yeah, we'll run it quick. I know Dan's in a rush.
I gotta finalize my card. I'm not exactly sure what I'm
just
but
for the shits
on Twitter.
We'll post it on Twitter, but for the shits, pick one best bet for each division. Go through best bet. Kobe, get your pen ready.
All right. Heavyweight, Pavlovic.
That's
light
your best
heavyweight.
Bet. Hold on, one at a time, brother. We're gonna go back and forth. So Dan's on
ahead.
Pavlovich. I'm on. I think best bet's gone at 3-1.
I'm Pavlovich. Light
Okay.
heavy.
I like.
Light heavy Prohaska.
I'm gonna go. Oh man, I'm gonna go. Rakic 25-1.
I'm going
No
Yuri.
love for Ankalaev on her best bets. That's surprising.
Middleweight.
Middleweight. I've got Bobby Whitaker.
Give me Bob Whitaker's a great fucking pick. Give me.
How are you not going Bob Whitaker? You don't.
I
Even,
love Bob Whitaker, but because I figured that if I just hit one of these, I'm golden. So give me Imavov.
I don't
Weird,
love
but
betting this
dope.
one. I'm going to take Hamzat, but only because I'm also taking Hamzat at
Okay, I respect that.
welterweight. So that's my play for welterweight also.
Welterweight. The Hamzat Shavkat sprinkle.
I'm give Dan 0.5 on each of those. I'm just going Shavkat.
Lightweight.
Dan,
Islam.
are you did? I was gonna say Kobe. Are you doing Maladalena? But no, you're soft as ice.
Islam
Lightweight,
unanimous
Islam.
lightweight.
Yep.
Yeah, I really don't see another option. I'm gonna go Islam.
Dan, you too?
Yep.
We skipped, but featherweight.
Featherweight. I'm going Volkanovski. The odds,
That's a
Dan.
tough one for me.
I'm gonna run
I
top.
mean, I'm gonna
You
go with
remember him?
Holloway.
Holloway's 16-1. Kobe for Dan.
I'm also on Volk minus 160. Is that
Okay.
right?
Yeah, 165.
Bantamweight.
I
Sucks. I'm going Aljo. I think that's the way to be.
I'm gonna go with my boy. Give me Marab.
I'm taking Cheeto 9-1.
Cheeto 9-1's a really good one too.
Flyweight.
Give me half unit Albazi, half unit Kate.
Pass.
No, not it. Got to risk a uni.
He's allowed to pass.
Okay, fine.
Pantoja.
taking
If I'm-
Makai.
if
No,
I
no,
have
no.
to.
Let the man pass. I don't want to peer pressure him. Fuck.
Pantoja if I have to.
Yeah, he has to.
Mokayev. Women's divisions, bantamweight.
That Kobe, that Makayev one could win it for you all low key. Nunez 250.
Valentina.
Nunez. Flyweight.
Give me half unit Blanchfield, half unit O'Neal.
Half unit Blanfield, half unit Tyler.
Blanche all the way.
Wow, the year of Shevchenko is over.
And women's strawweight last.
Whaley, all of it.
Give me Yaraguchi for the win, 65-1.
Andrade 11. All right.
Raj 11's great too.
That does it for the division futures for 2023. We'll be back pretty shortly here with previewing, I don't even know, the first event of 2023.
Yeah, Strickland versus Imavov. It looks like we're going to be recording Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll have it out first thing Friday morning. So the closing line value doesn't move on you.
And apologies for no set the spread. It happened behind closed doors, and I whooped Reese 5-0 sweep.
That is absolutely not what happened.
Porra!
Wachina.